I've known Brian since 2002.
Yep.
We met in law school at Pepperdine. And not soon after, I met John, because John and Brian were roommates, because we're all, came from very little, so we had to do as much as we could, be roommates.
You all went to Pepperdine Law School.
We did.
Yeah.
John was here.
I graduated college by that point. But you were in law school. I didn't go to law school.
So John, he was always the promoter of all the clubs we wanted to get into. So we probably might have crossed paths. So we could say all the ones that John used to do to sneak us into these clubs.
Oh my gosh! All right, I'll rattle them off: Las Palmas, Prey, Shelter, Les Deux, Bliss,
Las Palmas and Ladue I used to go to.
El Centro.
El Centro, the Sunset Room,
Sunset Room.
Area.
Area.
How about the Gate?
No,
Remember
that was
the Gate?
before my time.
How about White
Gate.
Lotus?
Cyrano, my first.
White
White
Lotus,
Lotus,
for sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
White Lotus was the one by the Hollywood Bowl on Highland.
Yes.
Right? That was the
Yep.
Sam Nazarian place. He owned it.
Correct. Do you think the show The White Lotus exists if the White Lotus, the club 15 years ago, did not exist?
No, it's more
No.
than
I
15
think it's completely
years.
different.
Probably
Definitely.
like 20-something years.
Right, but don't you think that the people that made that show on some
there.
subliminal level were like, that's in their brain because that was a nightclub that was popular when they were our age?
We spent many nights at White Lotus.
Oh.
It's a
It
cool
was
name.
it was like a huge white building, right? Yeah.
It was on Cahuenga.
Yeah, Cahuenga and Sunset.
John was the best person to know. I mean, it was so great. In Hollywood, there's no way we would have gotten
Yeah,
into
there's
it.
no way you could have 8 dudes splitting a table for paying pennies to get.
Yeah.
John just sneaks us in the back door. We're in law school.
They're like-
and young lawyers.
If you wanted to get in, that you had to buy a bottle to be at the table. If you didn't know someone, it's like that was our budget for a month in law school. I mean, we would eat the most disgusting stuff at our crappy apartment in Malibu that we had. I mean, we'd eat plates of beans with mustard drizzled on top of it.
Yeah. We used to go to that Ralph's down there and just buy this frozen shit and just try to make. I was always a
one down on-
chicken and peas guy.
The Ralph's
just,
on Trancas down there?
right.
No, right on the PCH. Yeah. And we'd a can of corn poured onto a plate, and then we'd dress it up with red pepper flakes or something, and now it's gourmet. So this is good. The first time my mom ever met Bob, she came out, and we lived in a really crappy apartment in Malibu. I mean, the views were amazing, and the location was great.
They used to
but
call
it
it the
was
stinky apartment.
the Stinkies. Yeah, it was right next to a sewage treatment plant, so it literally smelled like shit a lot of times. So we had this apartment. My mom comes, and my mom prefers a clean home. And she comes in. Nothing's been updated in this place since the 60s, and we had wicker furniture. None of us had any.
We had
It was
outdoor
awful.
furniture in the inside before it was cool.
Outdoor furniture on the inside.
Well, that's what makes it fun,
She comes in and meets Bob, and she brought one of her lady friends, and we're like, oh, well, let's clean things up so you guys can sit down. You could tell that they don't want to sit or touch anything in the apartment. And so Bob pulls out the couch and a little bit, and we straighten some things up, and he reaches behind the couch and finds something, picks it up. It's a piece of corn that's mold. It's fuzzy. It has mold growing on it. It's blue and yellow. And he goes, corn, and eats it. In front of my mom, she's like, yeah, okay, we're leaving.
But my wife to this day, she makes fun of she calls me the garbage can because I'll just eat shit out of a garbage can it's fresh. It was just put there. I was in college, we just had to eat where we could find food. So my daughter threw out a piece of pizza, and I waited for her to walk around. I opened up the trash. I took a bite. And she's like, Mom, Dad's eating a piece of pizza out of the trash. She's like, honey, I got a lot of stories to tell you about Dad.
Bob was like a raccoon.
Yeah.
That's
That's why
jolly
my
raccoon.
immune system is just pristine.
He's like Rocket from
He is like
Guardians of
Rocket.
the Galaxy. He'll eat anything.
That's actually a compliment.
Rocket's voice is done by? Oh, you guys don't know this. Who does
Johnny.
Rocket's voice?
I don't know. I'm bad with the
Bradley
Marvels.
Cooper.
Oh, he
Oh,
he
right.
does. Yeah, he
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see it now, or hear it now.
You hear it now?
Yeah.
God, you guys are such idiots. So
know.
Brian went to Oklahoma State, a Polk, not a Sooner. Big difference.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of the Pokes because of this guy.
Big difference.
In fact, Mason Rudolph, and we had who was the receiver at the time?
James Washington.
Yes, and we always wanted them to connect. He's now at Tennessee, but whatever.
And early on, John Kolb
Who?
played with my dad back in the late
Was
60s.
when your dad with the Cowboys?
Yeah, my dad played at Oklahoma State, tight end and defensive end, and was going to be drafted by the Cowboys. He's out baling hay on a farm with one of his buddies. Gets a call. The farmhouse says, "Hey, come in. Somebody's on the phone. They want to talk to you." It's the Dallas Cowboys I guess whoever's in charge of the draft then said, hey, we plan on drafting you tomorrow. And he says, don't bother. He said, I don't want to play. And they said, well, we're going to draft you. And he said, well, if you use your draft choice on me, it'll be a waste because I will not sign and I will not play.
No way.
Yeah, obviously a different era, but the way he tells it is like, look, he got a chemical engineering degree and then his MBA, and his starting salary at the bank was higher than his rookie contract would have been. And he was tired of playing football anyway. Back then it was his coach was from the Bear Bryant School, and they were getting their brains kicked in, for months on end. But he said he didn't want to play, and then years later, he's like, well, I didn't know they were going to win 3 Super Bowls. He'd have 3 rings and the pension, but I don't think he regrets not playing. He was just done. But yeah, he was good.
Bryant.